I don't have it.
You don't, you also,
It's on YouTube.
okay. So this is the live stream on YouTube right now.
Excellent.
You ready?
In 1 minute. I'm ready when you guys are. When you guys are. Am I too far from the screen? I'm leaning back. Yep, countdown. Good morning, Africa, and Happy New Year. This is Wake Up Africa, broadcasting all the way from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And this is the first episode. I am so delighted, first and foremost, to really be able to put this program together. This program aims to bring all the minds in Africa, the young people, the elderly people, all over Africa to come and discuss different topics, but with an objective of changing and rewriting Africa's narrative. So, this is Wake Up Africa, and this is the first episode. During the time, in the next 3 years, I'm happy to also mention that we shall be joined by a colleague from Tanzania, a colleague from Kenya, a colleague from Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda to start. The objective of Wake Up Africa is to bring the entire African continent together. In the due course, we will also be inviting people from other countries. And happy to say, it's the beginning of the year, first Saturday of the year. How lucky it is for those of us who passed over 2024 to 2025. And what we shall be discussing today as the topic of the day is the essence of making goals. Does it really matter? Is it of any importance to make goals for the year, goals for the month, goals for the day? Stay tuned and join Wake Up Africa as we ponder onto this topic. But I really can't start the program without really thanking the men who are behind this podcast. This is none other but Essa and Noreen. Guys, you're doing excellent job. Thank you so much for making this once upon a time a wish, once upon a time a thought, once upon a time a good idea into a reality. Wake up, Africa. Welcome, Africa. And let's begin. By the cue. Sorry. Yep. And to begin, Wake Up Africa on the topic making and setting the essence of setting goal. Does it really matter? I would like to start by a quotation from none other but Dan Rome, the author of the book Behind the Napkin, who said, whoever's best describe the problem is most likely to solve it. Whoever best describes the problem is most likely to solve it. So, goal setting for 2025, my dear viewer, is it really of any essence? And how do we then set goals? Why is it important to set goals? I want to take you through a couple of factors that I've put in. And when my participants from outside Tanzania join in, and one from Tanzania all the way from Arusha join in, they will also give us their input. But these are all mine, and I would really like to share with you on this first part of the show. Now, we set goals. so that we can have the clarity. It can all be very clear of where we are going and where we want to be. If you do not have, there's a saying that I'm sure we all know that if you do not know where you're going, any road will take you there. Now, when you set a goal, that means you're giving yourself the clarity of that is where I want to go. That is where I want to be. That is who I want to become. So when you set a goal, definitely, it's January, 4th of January today. You want to now put the plan. You should have done the planning before the year ended, so that at least by the beginning of the year you have, all your goals planned. But there's a saying, if you miss the first time, this is always the second best time. So by setting a goal, you're definitely putting yourself onto the clarity of where you want to be, who you want to be, where do you want to be. That is my point one. So the essence of setting goal is to give you that clarity. Going on to number two, when you set a goal, that means you're also able to ascertain the needs. For instance, you could have set a goal of, I want to start a program, a school's program. You want to go back to school. You probably want to pursue a degree or another master's degree or a PhD. Now, when you put that as your goal, and of course, the goal has to be definite that I want to do master's degree in 2025. So when you do that, that means you're also able to ascertain what time do I have to do my course? How much money do I have to pay for that course? What do I need to start that course? So in setting goals, it helps you to ascertain what you need for that year, for that period of time, so that you're able to focus into that goal that you've set for yourself. So the essence of making or setting goal also helps you to ascertain the needs towards achieving that goal. Up to number three, and after number three, we'll take a quick break, about 5, 10 seconds, and then we'll proceed to the remaining three other points. Now, when you set a goal, that means you have or you're making a definite plan. When you set a goal, that means you have or you're making a definite plan. We all know what they say when you plan or you fail to plan, that means you're planning to fail. When you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Now, when you set a goal, that means you're setting a definite plan that I will start with this to be followed by this so that I can do that in order for me to get to where I want to be, in order for me to go or to be who I want to be. That means you have a definite plan. Vis-a-vis not having a goal, you do not have any plans. You are as good as those lying in the mortuary, sorry to use this example, but you are as good as dead if you do not have any goal. I remember I used to spend a bit of time with late Reginald Mengi, one of the richest men we had in Tanzania. And he used to take me by his window and ask me, Austin, do you see those people walking up and down the street? Look at them. If you sit here for another couple of minutes, you'll see the same people going up and down. Those people do not know where they're going. They probably do not know where they come from. Those people do not have goals. They do not have purpose. Those people are as good as dead. God bless his soul wherever he is. But I tell you, I now came to realize that, wow, he was so right. So not having plans, not having goals, you're as good as that. So you better start now. As I said, if you missed last year, still, it's the 4th of January, still early for you to plan for the year. We will hear from other colleagues coming from other countries. How do they set their goals? And we can learn from there. Now, let's take a quick break and we shall proceed on the three other points that I have gathered onto the essence of setting goals. Sorry? I am muted. Okay. 15 seconds down, we go back. Then after 3, we also cut again, okay? We make 2. This is Wake Up Africa, and we are broadcasting live from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And as I did say earlier on, we expect a colleague from Kenya to join. Hello, Kenya. We expect a colleague from Uganda to join. Uganda, how are you? As well as Rwanda, Burundi, and all the way from Zimbabwe will also be joining us. So, no, we have Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda for starts. Next week, I'm sure we would have Zimbabwe, South Africa, Morocco, so at least we have the entire continent joining us, of course. Not to forget my friends from Nigeria. But for now, as we are live, this is Wake Up Africa and Happy New Year, Africa. So, just to recap from where I had ended, why is it essential to set goals? First, it gives you the clarity. Second, you're able to ascertain the needs for the goal to achieve your goal. Third, if you have a goal, that means you have or you're setting or you're making a definitive plan. Going on to number 4, 5, and 6. Number 4, when you set a goal, that means you're preparing for the journey. For instance, you want to go on a trip. First and foremost, you would ask yourself, how do I get there? So you'd say, I'll drive. Do I have enough fuel? Are my tires fit? Is the car engine okay? Do I have the oil in the car? Those are what we call you prepare for the journey. Eventually, similarly, when you're setting your life's goal or your annual plans or your annual goals, you would also say, I'm setting this goal. This is where I want to be. I would take a break here. I would go on a research here. I would go on to a certain job so I can make extra bucks and come back to finance. For instance, as you said, the example here, the study, etc., etc. So by setting up a goal, you're also preparing for the journey for the year. So you do not just go by the day or you do not just go by the week. There's a saying which also goes like you cannot expect different results if you keep on doing the same thing. This is what most people do, you know? You wake up, you spend the day just like that, and you hope that things would get better. Things do not get better by hope. Things get better by planning and executing those plans. Number 5, by setting a goal, what you actually do is you're taking a calculated risk. Because how do you take a calculated risk? You sit and plan. So I will do this for this period of time. And after that, I will do this. That means you are ascertaining anything that could go wrong at that particular time. So you are able to calculate it and how to overcome it. Not to run away, not to shy away, on how to overcome away from the risk. So by setting a goal, it is actually helping you to take the calculated risk. The more the risk, the more the returns. But the more the calculated risk, the better the returns. And finally, when you set a goal, you are preparing for unforeseen circumstances. Oftentimes, when we're planning on a safari or when we're planning on anything, you would always plan on an emergency. So, should anything go wrong, I have this to back me up. If, for instance, if it rains, I have the umbrella parked there, or I have the car jack in the car. Should I run? Should I have a flat tire? I have a spare tire. I have, things like that. My phone battery is charged, etc., etc. I have a torch, flashlight. Should I be traveling at night and anything happen? So stuff like that is what we call in life to prepare for unforeseen. However, you are only able, again, you are only able to set up and plan and see the unforeseen if you plan, if you set goals. So I will leave up to you to decide. Is setting goal important? Is setting goal essential? Is it necessary for the day, for the month, for the week, for the year? Let me know what you think, and I will be looking onto the questions comment on the YouTube channel. Share your comments, share what your thoughts are, and we will come back onto what I've called or what is popularly known as the vision board. What is the vision board and what does it have to do with setting goal? Wake up, Africa. Good morning, and this is live from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. As I did say, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi will be joining us and tell us what it takes to set up goals. But again, they will also be sharing with us what is happening in their country. Wake Up Africa aims to bring the entire African continent together, and this being the first show, we have those 5 countries. Thank you for making time, my friends from Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. But again, to all of you watching, thank you, and let's join. This is aired every Saturday from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Setting goal, is it of any essence, is it of any importance in life? Stay tuned. This is Wake Up Africa, and welcome back. And yet again, and once again, it's beautiful. Happy New Year. This is the first episode, and we're looking onto the essence of setting goals. As I was talking earlier on, we were looking onto why is it essential. These are my own pick to set goals for the year, for the month, for the day. And I did explain about six factors, which gives you the clarity. You're able to ascertain the needs. You have or you make a definitive plan. You prepare for the journey. You take calculated risk as well as you prepare for the unforeseen as you set the goal. This is why it is essential, it is important that we set goals. Before I proceed, my dear viewer, we have had two participants, interestingly, one from South Africa and one from Cameroon with the questions. To start with the question from Emma, writing from Johannesburg in South Africa, she says, Austin, why does it matter? 1st of January, 22nd of February, why should we focus? Why should we focus on setting goals on the 1st of January? Emma, this is a fantastic question. So, just to answer, and this is my idea, and people who will be joining us, anyone can also respond to that. But my take. So, usually, to set a goal, why do many of us, including myself, set goal at the beginning of the years? Because we want to see how that progresses as the year goes. So when the year ends, this is what I want to look back and say, this is what I've been able to achieve over the period of 12 months. However, the year or 12 months could also be starting on the 22nd of February, Emma, as you rightly said. But, first, the beginning of the year, first day, first month of the new year, then makes easier for you to even track other than saying, oh, by the way, I started in February, so I have up until February to go, which is fine, totally. The essence is actually shouldn't be, or we should not confine ourselves towards more of the date I started setting the goal. It should be about setting the goal. As long as you set the goal, as long as you have goals for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, then you're good to go. We do 1st of January, or we start in January. As I said, if you miss the best time to set goals, this is the right time. The right time could be any time as long as you want to set that goal, you're setting that goal, you mean to set that goal, you mean to follow that goal, and you want to actually see that goal come to fruition. So thank you so much, Emma. I hope I've been able to respond to your question. But if you have any follow-up question, do not hesitate to reach back to me. And let me take the question from Edward, all the way from Cameroon. First and foremost, Edward and Emma, thank you for following Wake Up Africa. And I hope starting next week, I will have my friends connecting from South Africa, from Cameroon, sharing their insights of what's happening there. And of course, giving their insight onto the topic that we'll be discussing next week, which I will speak of at the end of the program. So stay tuned. So, Edward from Cameroon says, what book should I read in order to know best to set goals? Edward, this is a very good question. Again, there could be 1,000 books out there. There could be audio programs on YouTube that could be suggesting what books to read. I cannot tell you exactly read a certain book. What I can tell you for certain, and this is me as Austin, as the host of Wake Up Africa, is set up goal. How do you set up goal is by starting, this is where I want to be. And then start breaking it down slowly, bits by bits. What does that mean? For instance, I want to get an A grade. I'm a C grade now. I want to be an A grade. So what does this mean? When is my next exam? Let's say in a month's time. How do I move from C grade to A grade? Is now I make sure at least every day I do 5 exercises so that I can improve on a certain topic. So by planning bits and bits, you see, you have an exam at the end of the month. So you say, let me make sure that every day, this is a daily plan, I do 5 questions so I can understand this topic better. Your chances of improving your grades are becoming very high and high. So, but again, many people have researched, many people have, given their knowledge onto setting goals. and I welcome you. I personally follow my mentor, I'm happy to mention Jim Ron on YouTube, and he has a lot of goal setting, how to set goals, how to prepare for this and that. He's an amazing guy. He's my mentor. I've never met him, but I get a lot of wisdom from him. You probably also want to check in Jim Ron on YouTube. There's a lot of knowledge and wisdom on setting goals and how to go about it, how to focus. He speaks great things, and I'm happy to share what he says. So thank you once again, Edward from Cameroon and Emma from South Africa. Bring more questions, and I'll be happy to respond to them. But again, as I said, I have Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania to also chip in on how they do when they set up goals. But before I go on to a quick break, I want to slightly speak about the vision board. What is a vision board? Have you ever seen a person who is 50, 60? I'm approaching 50, shouldn't be saying that, but 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds who are about to retire and they do not have a life plan? Where, as you probably also have you came across a young person at the age of 17 and they're able to tell you, when I graduate, I want to be doing this, so that when I do this, I do that, and when I do that, I do this. So a vision board is that clarity, that picture, that image of where you want to be. Okay? Where you want to be. These are the questions you ask yourself. Where am I coming from? Where am I? Where do I want to be? And what does it take for me to get there? Okay? Where do I come from? Where am I? Where do I want to be? And what does it take for me to get there? Okay? That means when you set your goal, when you set your goal, you're drawing your vision board. This is where I want to be. This is where I am. This is where I come from. And coming from can be categorized into many other factors, could be categorized into qualifications. Do I have the qualifications? Do I have what it takes to set goals? Do I have the financial resources to set goals? Do I have to attain that goal, etc., etc.? This is your background. Where I am right now, I have $2,000 in savings that can pay my tuition. Okay. Where do I want to be? I want to acquire an MBA in business or in economics, in finance, etc., etc. So that it shouldn't just be an MBA in something, it should be an MBA in something so that what? Okay. We all know that we have so many graduates left, right, and center who graduated and they're in the streets with their great CVs and degrees, but they're looking for jobs. It's good they went to school. It's good they graduated probably the best universities we have in our countries, in Africa, in the world. But again, if you do not have that definitive plan, yet again, you graduate and end up in the street. You compete with those who graduated in local universities. It's a waste of time. So by setting goals, you ascertain yourself, knowing why do you want to do what you want to do? Why do you want to do what you want to do? Golden Circle by Simon Sinek says the why, the Golden Circle. Why? So you should ask yourself, why do I want to do what I want to do? So my question to you, my dear reader, my dear viewer, my dear listener, is what are your goals for 2025? Now, your goals have to be in line with the work you do or the off from the office, or if you're self-employed like I am, I'm grateful. Your personal goals have to be inclined with the work where you spend most of your time at. Because if your personal goals tell you go east and your office or your commitments tell you go west, there's no inclination there. That means you're always gonna have a conflict. That is one. Your goals have to align with the society. Now, the society, I do not mean the entire country or the entire village or the entire city that you live in. The society is the people or the person who has an influence on you. It could be your family, it could be your spouse, it could be your partner. So that society, those people who have influence, a direct influence on you. You could be a father. That means there's a family that is looking after you, or a mother, or a guardian. That means the people that are looking up to you. That means your personal goals have also to align with how the society is looking up to you. You can be selfish, yes, this is what I want to achieve for me, but you cannot avoid the fact that there are people out there that depend on the mere fact of your well-being, of your steps, of your daily steps. And number three, before we take another quick break, vision board, setting goals to ascertain where you want to be. You also need to have a broader picture on how you are going to be able to look back and say, I've been able to achieve one, two, three. And whatever achievements you make, however little it is, make sure you celebrate big. Why do we celebrate even little achievements? Why do we need to celebrate them? Because they give us the energy, they renew us, they give us time to reflect and be proud of ourselves. It's not a bad thing to celebrate your achievement because it gives you that fuel to move on onto achieving or onto checking the next box. When I come back, I want to talk more about you focusing now on you. How do you make your own goals? How do you make your own plans? Stay tuned. Wake up, Africa. Happy New Year. We'll be back. Wake up, Africa, and welcome back from a quick break. And I'm also happy to say I've received a few more comments from Those who are following Wake Up Africa on YouTube, Wake Up Africa live all the way from Zimbabwe. No, from Burundi. I have Jean Pierre from Burundi. Jean says, thank you for the show. Waiting to hear from a person here in Burundi. Jean, stay tuned. And my colleague from Burundi will be joining us shortly. The next couple of minutes, about 20 minutes, he will be joining us. I'm understanding that it's an hour ahead of your time here in Tanzania. We are an hour ahead of you, a bit early that side, but yes, he will be joining us shortly. I also have a comment from Herbert from Zimbabwe. Herbert says, great show, more synergies in economies and business opportunities. We want to hear more of business opportunities available in other countries and how we can capture them. Herbert, this is the entire essence of Wake Up Africa. We have people joining us, as I did say, from different countries. They will also be speaking about opportunities that are there. Now, if there's anything specific you want to know about in economics, be it investment, etc., then let us know and we'll make sure that as I request and as we plan for the next show, I will be inviting my colleagues from all over Africa to prepare a bit of notes onto the economic opportunities or business opportunities that are available from there. So thank you so much, Albert, from Zimbabwe. I also have Miss Amina from Mombasa. Amina says this should be a daily show. Thank you, Amina. Daily is quite a stretch. I will have to talk to my team, but thank you and thank you so much for joining us all the way from Mombasa. Wake Up Africa brings Africa together on a Saturday morning. What would you rather be discussing and pondering onto issues that unite Africa, or pulling up that bed sheet, that duvet, and spending a couple of more hours on bed? It's all up to you. While the rest of Africa is awake, on to Wake Up Africa, discussing essence, great programs. Please share, like, and subscribe, and let other people know that Wake Up Africa is live every Saturday from 6 in the morning up until 9 in the morning, bringing all the great minds, those in the show and those of us following, like Jean Pierre from Burundi, Herbert from Zimbabwe, Amina from Mombasa. Earlier on, I had Edward from Cameroon, as well as Emma from South Africa, following Wake Up Africa. I'm happy and delighted that you're still sharing your questions, your comments, and we take them. Before we had a quick break, I said I'm coming now to focus on you personally. Why do you personally need to set your goals? Okay. So you probably might have heard of the saying, aim for the moon, shoot the moon, so that if you miss the moon, you land on the stars. Okay. What does this mean? In order for you to be able to take care of anybody else outside yourself, you have to be able to take care of yourself first. Okay. This is why your personal goals are very important. Oftentimes we sit in offices 8 to 5 doing what is targeted for us and forget little about us. The only thing that we do for ourselves is probably them lunch breaks. It's probably them 1 or 2 minutes of walking to a friend and say hello and come back on your cube on your desk, or when you do your sales visit, etc. etc. But again, you also have to have your plans. I had a friend of mine visiting yesterday, Amanda. She came to me. She was like, "Austin, I have targets for the year, and I do not know how to go about it." I was like, what do you have yourself as a target? Because when your supervisor sets a target for you, and if you do not have your own target as a person, you will be dragged onto doing other people's stuff. So I told her, as your boss says, these are your targets for the year, and it's good commission. She works for a cars company. She's selling cars, big brands. Allow me not to mention that for now, but she's selling quite a big brand in Tanzania. And she was like, "So how do I go about it?" Then I asked her, "What do you have? What are your plans? How many cars did you sell in December?" She's just a role or got employed onto that job. She said, "I got 3 deals that she's working on to close." And then I told her, "Close 10 or plan to close 10." What you needed to do, and I told her what to do. Do a stakeholders analysis, know where they are, know their needs, start a relationship, I explicitly told her there's no business without relationship. There's no business without relationship. In order for you to make any business, you have to have a good relationship. And she was comparing a company with another brand. And I told her, you see, that other brand. And she literally said they charge three times what they do. And I told her, look at that other company, look at that other brand. They are everywhere. They promote the event, they sponsor events, they show up everywhere, they support. So people see that brand and they know this is the brand to associate with. I'm not saying that your brand is not known, it is there. But again, you have to build a rapport. You have to build that relationship in order for you to now start making sales. They will see you the first year, the second year, the third year. They will call you on their boardrooms and ask you, what do you have to offer? So start by yourself, improve yourself, aim for that mood so that at least you can land on the stars. Other than that, my mentor Jim Rohn, I did mention Jim Rohn earlier on, says other than becoming, other than being, other than becoming, what you see at the end of the day is that process that makes you towards what you want to be. You know, it is never easy. And if there's anyone who tells you to set goal is easy, if anyone tells you to achieve certain thing is easy, then that person is not telling you the truth. It is never easy. However, when you face the difficulties, just know you're on the right path. That is when you should know this is the right path to go. But when you see things are easy, anything you do is easy, then you probably want to ask yourself, what goals did I set? And one of the sayings, one of the writers, philosophers, great thinkers says, most people don't set their goals too low that they achieve them. Okay? When you set your goals too low, yes, you will achieve them, but will you have done or would you have achieved anything in life? So you've got to really let your goals stretch you. You really have to spend a couple of sleepless nights only during planning. Why do people go on a retreat? Why do people take time off to go and set goals, to go and plan for the year? Because they really need to pin down every little detail onto goal setting. But again, Jim also says, my mentor, success is attracted by the person you become. Success is attracted by the person you become. And here, I want to bring you back, my friend um, Edward from Cameroon, when you asked me which book to read. So when you focus on becoming better yourself, the better you become, the more success you attract. What does this mean? The more the books you read, the more the courses you do, the more the skills you acquire, you become better. And now you're able to offer more services. And when you're able to offer more services, that means the Benjamins will come running after you. I would also like to highlight one of the lines that I read in one of the books that I'm reading. I'm happy to say, not bragging, but I read three books in a day. Um, I read The Daily Laws. I read Personal MBA, and one of the book I'll tell you shortly. Uh, those books that I read, one of the books that says, if you can't discipline yourself, if you can't discipline yourself, hardly or barely can you discipline any other person. What does that mean? Discipline. Focus on yourself in order for you to be able to achieve anything in life. If you do not have your personal discipline, if you can't just make your bed at home, how can anyone entrust you with the work in the office? Begin with you, take care of yourself, and everything else will fall in place. Before I go on to another quick break, I would like to quote Bill Gates as it says, if you do what you love, Benjamin's money will follow you. Do what you love, and you will not feel like you're doing it. Let's go on a quick break. This is Wake Up Africa. Happy New Year, Africa. And as we come back, we'll take more questions from you, my dear viewers, and we'll take it from there. This is Wake Up Africa, and we're looking on to the first episode for the year, the essence of setting goals. Does it matter? Stay tuned. This is Wake Up Africa broadcasting live all the way from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And thank you, my dear viewer, for watching. As I said, Wake Up Africa really aims to change the narratives of Africa. When you look onto the mainstream media, anything that you see about Africa is negative, negative, negative. Whose role or whose responsibility it is to change the narrative? It's yours and mine. Africa, we need to stand and change the narrative. I'm happy I've received one, two, three, four comments online. To begin with, Miriam from Kenya. Miriam, thank you for following up on Wake Up Africa this morning. Miriam is asking, success is attracted by the person you become. Tell us a little bit more about this. Thank you, Miriam, for this question. I will tell you slightly more about success is attracted by the person you become by giving you an example. For instance, I believe coming from Kenya, Miriam, and I'm not assuming you definitely like football somehow because Kenya is a place where football is the in thing. I like that about Kenya. Every time I visit Kenya, it's let's go watch football. Let's stand watch football, etc. So I want to give you an example from football. When you practice more, okay, when you become better, you become a better footballer. That means your price goes up. Okay. That means the more you work on yourself, you attract success. The more you become, so the success is attracted by the person you become. The better person you become, the better package you attract. The reverse is true. If you just lay down, become big, heavy, you do not practice anymore, no one wants to work with you. Everyone wants a fast-paced footballer like that. This is why they attract money. And I read once a saying that says or goes by, why do footballers or athletes attract so much money? Because of the value they bring. Okay, because of the value they bring. And I know of Ronaldo, I know of Messi, who go to practice about an hour or 30 minutes before the entire team goes on to practice. What does that also mean? This is how they become better. Even best footballers go to practice. Now we have a tendency, oftentimes, that the more we see ourselves getting better, the less effort we put onto improving ourselves. It should be the reverse. The better you become, the more the success you attract. Thank you once again, Miriam from Kenya, for watching and asking that clarity. I have Gladys from Zimbabwe. Gladys is asking, is it okay to just have one goal in a year, or you can have multiple goals in a year? Gladys, this is a fantastic question, and thank you for watching all the way from Zimbabwe. And I really can't wait to connect from Zimbabwe onto Wake Up Africa. So, the essence of setting goals in life is actually to be able to follow through them. There are those that say do not put all your eggs in one basket, just in case anything goes wrong. There are those who believe that by setting multiple goals, should anything go wrong, that means you're able to follow on to number two, three, and four. But my cousin sister, and allow me to mention here, Grace Makani, says you should never have an option B. You should always have an option A. And I really admire why she says this. She says, when you have an option B, that means you won't give all your efforts onto option A, you know. But if option A is the only option that you have, you will give it your all. That means if anything goes wrong, you've given it your all, and then you'll put another option A to go on to making that work. So if you ask me between one goal, 10 goals, 100 goals in a year, I would say you can have one goal, one major goal, but in order for you to attain or to achieve that one goal, you have to put other minor or smaller goals. So this is a goal for the year. You can have the goal for the month and the goal for the week and the goal for the day. For instance, one of the books that I'm reading, Personal MBA, has 12 chapters. And I said I'm doing a chapter a month. And I've also requested two of my friends to join me to be discussing that chapter every month. So what we do is we read bits and bits for that month, but our goal is to finish the personal MBA, the book by Kaufman, Job Kaufman, by the end of the year. So we have our annual target, then we have our monthly target, then we have our weekly targets, then we have our daily target. So you can have one broad goal and then have other mini or smaller goals to take you towards that big goal. Excuse me, on that. So Gladys, I hope that is clear. But again, if you need further clarification, bring it on. I'm still online for the next 2 hours. Then I have a question from Osaze. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Osaze, writing all the way from Nigeria. How do we help young people in the street to get jobs? How do we help young people in the streets to get jobs? Osaze from Nigeria. Thank you for that fantastic question. As we are discussing how to set or the essence of setting goals, we can have this on the plan. I'm going to answer your question, but again, we can have this on the plan through Wake Up Africa on how we can empower each other as young people, those who do not have jobs. How can we make sure that we avail opportunities to them? My mentor says the world is not designed to give us what we want, but the world has the opportunity for everyone to get what they need from it. Okay. Now, Jobs Osaze from Nigeria are not found. Governments are not creating jobs anywhere in the world, not only in Africa. And surprisingly, you might find that one job is advertised, and that one particular job receives over 1,000 applications, ranging from people with PhD, masters, degrees, diplomas, certificates, etc. So, as a recruiter, a company or a person recruiting, who are you going to give that job to? So, for me, it's said I would rather advise as we plan for the year and as we are setting goal for the year that we will speak about jobs maybe onto the upcoming program. But just to respond to your question and to really thank you, Osaze from Nigeria, for following up, the young people in the street needs to understand their potential first and foremost. They need to understand their potential. They do not need to despair. They need to know what it is that they have and they can give in service. Okay. My mentor says the more the problems, the more you are able to see the problem. And if you recall, if you're with me, Osaze, from the beginning, I started with a quote from Dan Rom, the author of The Back of the Napkin, what says, whoever best describes the problem is most likely to solve the problem. Whoever best describes the problem is most likely to solve that problem. So, young people, what we need to know is to know the problems that we have in the streets. When we know the problems that we have, and there are very, very many problems in the streets. If you look onto, if you know there's someone sick, there's a problem. If you know there's someone hungry, there's a problem. If you know there's someone who's not going to school, there's a problem. If you know there's someone who needs a house painted, need to lawn the mall, all this, they need to clean the gardens, they need to, water the plants, they need to clean the cars. There's a problem there that needs to be addressed in order for you now to make that money, to create that job. If jobs are not created, create an environment where you can create that job yourself. So young people need to know what it is that I have or that you have that you can offer in return to solve or to address a certain problem. Okay. There's a parent there struggling with the homework for the children, and you did your studies. You're educated. That means you can go and help that parent to help their children with their homeworks and make the little money that you can, you can earn, and you can earn yourself a living. So Osaze, once again, thank you. We'll discuss this in the future sessions, podcast for Wake Up Africa. How do we help young people who do not have jobs to actually get jobs? But for now, understanding your potential. So begin with you yet again, or see what it is that the society needs. See how you can acquire those skills so that you can go to address them and solve those problems. The more the problem is solved, the better you become as an individual. As I said, success is attracted by the person you become. So, young people in the streets, I'm not promising jobs for anyone, but I'm saying you can get jobs by describing the problems in your surroundings very well. After you've been able to describe the problems in your surrounding, address those problems, even if it might require you to get certain skills and go straight for them. So thank you, Osaze, for that fantastic question all the way from Nigeria. I have my last person who asked the question, Nelson. Nelson is asking a question from Cameroon. Nelson says, thanks for the show. Can't wait to have the entire Africa on Wake Up Africa. So thank you, Nelson, from Cameroon. We all can't wait and we really look forward to having the entire Africa joining on to Wake Up Africa and tell us what is happening in their respective country. Nelson, I'll be very glad if you tell me what is happening in Cameroon on your next question, and I wait as Africa waits. This is Wake Up Africa, and let's take a quick break before I go on to body, mind, and soul. In setting goal, why is it important to make sure that your body, your mind, and your soul need to be in sync? Stay tuned. This is Wake Up Africa live from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And welcome back to Wake Up Africa. Wake Up Africa, yet again, better again. I'll probably not be able to say this next week, but happy New Year, Africa. I celebrate Africa. I like one of the songs I'm yet to ascertain. Who sang these words in that song? You can take me out of Africa, but you can't take Africa out of me. I love those words. So this is Wake Up Africa, and the essence, the objective of Wake Up Africa is really to change Africa's narrative. Do we have the narratives? Yes, we do. I live in a country which has the highest mountain, standalone mountain in the world. Okay, that is Mount Kilimanjaro. It's the highest peak, the highest standalone mountain in the world, the highest standalone mountain in the world. But if you go to Mount Kilimanjaro, and I hope Tanzania Tourism Board will be watching this at some point, they are able to tell you who was the first white person up that mountain. But surprisingly, that white person was directed up there. But they can't tell you who was the first black man up Mount Kilimanjaro. We have in Africa the people, the white people who discovered what is in Africa. There's the person who discovered Lake Victoria. There's a person who discovered Lake Tanganyika. There's a person who discovered Lake Nyasa, the Victoria Falls. Huh? That means we had to have people travel from the west and the east to come to Africa to discover what was already there. Like, our parents and forefathers did not see that up until these guys came and showed them, yo, there's a mountain here. This is the highest mountain. They could have helped us with the numbers, how tall, how long it is, how deep, but discovered Mount Kilimanjaro. Mount Kilimanjaro was first climbed by a white man. Before this white man came into Africa and into Tanzania and into Kilimanjaro to be precise and climbed that mountain, does that mean that for years before they came, no one ever climbed that mountain? How did that person know even how to go up there? So Wake Up Africa intends to change that narrative. Wake Up Africa wants to change all the bad images that Africa is painted of. When you look onto again mainstream media, Africa is depicted with poverty. Africa is depicted with hunger. Africa is depicted with war. And it's surprisingly that it could be a street fight, but the way it's escalated on media, it's sorry to say, it's crazy how it's escalated. However, Wake Up Africa intends now to change the narratives. Do we have our own rich people in Africa? Yes, we do. What are their stories? Why do we only read rich people in the West or in the East? Do we have our own famous people? Yes. Do we have our own music? Do we have our own, stories, the likes of the Chinua Achebe, and the rich history that, they write about? Do we have our own authors that write a lot about African history, that write a lot about African stories? What do we tell? I was lucky last year, but want to visit Nigeria, and I visited one of the galleries, and I was happy to see some of the works by Chinua Achebe, and it was impressive, really impressive. And I was like, why do we hide our own heroes? I remember the late my friend Ruge Mutahaba, God rest his soul in peace, here in Tanzania, who once told me, Austin, we live in a country that celebrates dead heroes. I'm not sure now if it's only the country or the entire continent that celebrates dead heroes. When you die is when people come and speak highly, heavily, very nice about you. Is this all that Africa has? Wake Up Africa now wants to celebrate our heroes when they're still alive. We do not need to wait for you to die for us to celebrate you. Tell us your story, and through Wake Up Africa, we'll be very happy to really celebrate you. All my viewers, I'm happy to say that thank you so much for watching Wake Up Africa. And you and me are walking the talk. We are done saying, let us do this, but we're actually doing this. Let us write Africa's narrative. Let us celebrate our heroes. I'm celebrating Mama Samia Suluhu, the first female president in Africa, and she's doing tremendous job in Tanzania. I'm celebrating another African country that got a female president recently. I'm celebrating all the African heroes, our forefathers, the unity, the peace, the Ubuntu that they promoted over years that, united us together. I'm celebrating Kiswahili. Sadly, I'm speaking in English so that I have all of us united. But again, in the next episodes, really, we ought to consider using Kiswahili. So we really show that this is Wake Up Africa for Africans by Africa, and we should remain reunited by the language that brings us all together. Swahili is spoken all over by over 200 million people. Why not Wake Up Africa have Kiswahili for its communication? But again, thank you for all those joining from all over, sending questions through our social media. Fantastic questions, amazing questions. Thank you for being with us. So it is you and me to really change the narrative that Africa has. I did say that when I come back, I will be speaking about as we set goals, the essence of setting goals, why it is important to consider body, mind, and soul while setting goals. Now, I read a certain book that says your body, that body that you have, your body, look at yourself, feel your hands, feel your legs, feel your body. That body is your personal and only companion for the rest of your life. Your personal companion and the only companion for the rest of your life. You might say, oh, I'm married, so I'll have my spouse for the rest of my life. No, time will come when they will leave us or you will leave them. But what you have, all the way to the 6 feet under, is your body. Why am I saying this with so much passion? Is because you need to take care of your body. You really do. Take care of your body. Your body, as your best companion, your best partner in life, needs to be fit. Your body needs to be fit. Take care of your body. I'm not saying go weight lift. I'm not saying don't eat junk, but just take care of your body. Make time to rest. You know, improve your body, work out, exercise. We have a problem now. Short distances you want to drive, fresh air. How often do you catch up with nature? How often do you say, let me go take a walk along the lake, along the beach? How long do you do what they call nature's trails? So love your body, take care of your body, and your body will take care of you. This I promise. If you let your body be, it will also let be. A body, which we all know, is full of muscles. And a muscle, when it's put to use, it functions very well. If it is not put to use, it does not function at all. So is your body. Put your body to use. Make use of your body, and your body will be of a great use for you and your future. So, body is number one. Going on to number two, your mind. I do not know what we all believe in, but your mind, in the books, the holy books, the Bible, for me that I read, says what you think you become. Oprah Winfrey also says garbage in, garbage out. What you feed your mind is what will come out of you through your mouth. Okay? If you spend the entire day feeding garbage into your mind, you will have nothing of substance to share. When you do not have anything of substance to share, that is the garbage out, you will also be attracting around you garbage. So if you speak sense, if you feed your brain with sense, you are attracting the right people that want to associate with you because of what comes out of your mouth. Okay? So if you speak sense, you attract sense. If you speak nice stuff, you attract nice stuff. If you speak garbage, there's no way you can attract great stuff. So your mind is important. So look onto what you feed onto your mind. Look onto how much time, how much airtime do you give onto your mind from social media and what it is that you watch onto social media. I did say myself, I spent quite a number of time on social media, especially when I drive to work back and forth or when I exercise. But what do I listen? I listen to my mentor. I always pick onto what I want to listen to on that particular day towards my broader objective, leadership, management, etc. And he speaks sense into my brain. So your brain is like a sponge. Anything you throw onto it, it absorbs. Okay? Good stuff it takes, bad stuff it takes. And then it has a tendency now to take that out. This is why you can have young people and they speak amazing, great stuff. And you have great elderly people. The moment they open their mouth, you probably want to look onto the escape goal. So you do not want to be that person. So body, take care of your body, and your body will take care of you. Mind, be mindful of what you feed into your mind. Soul, this is my thing. Soul is that inner peace you have. Soul is that sleep you have at night, not sleepless night. When you sleep at peace at night, your soul is at peace. How do you live with your neighbor? But before I go on to your neighbor, how do you live with yourself? Do you like what you do? Does your heart and mind tell you something that you do is not right, is going to harm you, or is going to harm your neighbor? So, first start by asking, what is it that I do? And then there's something that in me tells me this is not right for me, this is not right for my neighbor. And do a deliberate action to immediately quit doing what you do. Okay? I have read another fantastic quotation that says, there are two kind of people. There are those who eat well, and there are those that will sleep well. And it ends, you'd rather be those who sleep well. Okay? You better be those who sleep well. What does this mean? Does it mean that we should eat bad food? No. We should not eat? No. It simply means as you eat, did you really toil for that? The Bible says, those who do not work should not eat. Okay? That means toil, work hard. And what you earn is what should put the bread on your table. That is what you should eat. Now, how do you earn your living? Are people sad when they see you? Are people mad, angry when they see you? Are people smiling when they see you? You know, when you live, when you have peace with yourself, you have peace with your neighbor. I'm not saying about the I ends, but for me, as I am a believer in God, when I have peace with my God, I have a very good night's sleep. So, body, mind, and soul need to be in sync with your plans. What does this mean now? As you say, I want to do a certain program for the year as your annual plan, or I want to pursue something, or I want to buy a house, I want to buy a car, I want to build a house. This could be your annual goals. Make sure that your body is capable to support you attain your objective. Does this mean people with disability do not achieve their goals? No. They probably do way better than those with all their body intact. Why? Because they have that drive. They do not see their disability or their inability as disability or disability as inability. You know, I do not have a limb. So what? Does this mean that I can't use my voice? I do not have my eyes. So does this mean I can't speak? Etc. etc. So your disability should not be your inability. Okay. So the plans that you have, make sure that they're in sync with your body. Your body should be fit enough for you to meet your plans, your annual plans, your weekly plans, your monthly plans. Mind. You want to pursue something, spend an enormous amount of time in a day to read about what you want to achieve, to know about, to ask about, to talk to people about. My mentor says you cannot go to a mechanic if you want to learn how to dance, or you cannot go to um, a school teacher, a primary school teacher, if you want to know how to fly a plane. Okay, that what does that mean? If you want to be who you want to be, associate, know about, read about, take trouble researching about that field. that you really want to explore, that goal that you want to achieve for the year. I was talking to my children yesterday. I'm blessed. I'm grateful to God with four children, two girls and two boys. I called two of my boys yesterday and I told them, what do you want to be? One was busy playing with video game. And he says, Daddy, I want to be like your businessman doing this and that, left, right, and center. I was like, yeah, son, I never played video game in my time. And if this is what you want to be, you really need to, you know, I take them to work at times to come see what I do. But you really need to spend a lot of more time on YouTube onto understanding how businesses are done. I watched a video of an 8-year-old girl yesterday on YouTube who challenged a genius student, who challenged a math genius onto numbers, and it was so mesmerizing. I really had to sit my kids down to watch that video. Okay. So whoever you want to become, there's a lot of research that has been done out there. There are people out there who are doing what you want to be. Read about them. Last week before the year ended, I called a friend of mine and I asked her, what do you want to be? She simply said, I want to be a millionaire. Then I asked her, tell me top 5 millionaires in the world. And she couldn't respond to that. I was like, so how do you want to become a millionaire if you do not know the millionaires? Who are they? What books do they read? What clubs do they go? What activities do they do? So when you surround yourself with that thinking, when you put that into your mind, then it becomes your clear picture. You know, this is what they do. They wake up at 5. They work for a couple of hours. They go on, they attend certain seminars or certain workshops, plan to go on to those. And eventually, as they say, birds of the same feathers flock together. And finally, your soul. You cannot achieve anything. You cannot achieve anything in life, those goals you set, if your soul is not at peace. You know, even great cooks burn the food at times. And if you ask them, they will tell you, I had a fight with my spouse in the morning. So, inner peace with yourself, peace with your neighbor, peace with whoever believes the great power up there. For me, I believe in God, so peace with my God. Then that will give you the tranquility to achieve the goals you have. Stay tuned. My viewers will be back with correspondence from all over Africa starting to join. Regrets I've received from my friend from Nairobi taking her baby to the hospital. Sorry for the little one, but we have Uganda ready to join and we'll be back. This is Wake Up Africa. And the first episode, the essence of setting goal. Does it matter? We'll be back. And welcome back. This is Wake Up Africa, broadcasting all the way from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. My dear viewer, I'm delighted to have with me on the program Alan Subi, all the way from Uganda, Kampala, Uganda. Alan Subi, welcome to Wake Up Africa, the first episode 2025, where we're looking onto the essence of setting goal. Does it matter, Alan? What is your take? Does it matter to have your personal plan, your personal goal for the year?
Austin, thank you so much for having me on the very first episode of 2025. Such a pleasure and an honor for me to join you this morning. I was excited about what you're discussing today, and I'm happy to share my views on it. I have personally been talking to my friends and relatives on the different WhatsApp groups about goals, and for me, they not only stand out. They're not just important, but I feel like they're important and more achievable when you're having someone hold you accountable. So I've been nudging them to share with us. We have a WhatsApp group. Can all of us share our goals for the new year here so that we know? You said you're not, you said you're going to build on your physical capital this quarter. How far is it going? Have you registered with a gym? Are you jogging? We want to keep you accountable. So I feel like, we've set goals many years, but this year we need to be held accountable. We need to be transparent enough to open our to share our goals with our loved ones so that they, check in from time to time.
Alan, thank you so much for that. Very important. You've mentioned what my mentor says of accountability partner, to have an accountability partner. I did mention
Mm.
Alan Subi, that I'm reading a book, my personal MBA. I'm not sure if you know of it.
I actually want to read it this year. You have a physical copy?
I have a physical copy, but if you also want a soft copy, I can send it to you.
Please, please.
I will send it to you. So when we began the year, I realized that this book has 12 chapters. And I said, I'm going to be doing a chapter a month. So it's not just any book that I want to read, but I really want to acquire that personal MBA. And what I've done on top of that, Ellen, and if you want to join, is I've requested two of my other friends that we also be doing a chapter a month so that we have time to discuss on weekly basis what it is that we've read during that week. Okay. So at least the accountability partner that will, keep on ensuring we are meeting on Wednesday to discuss the first few pages of chapter one. We're meeting this week to discuss the entire chapter one as we go on to the next chapter. So accountability partner, Ellen, I can't agree more with you that it's really, really very important. And I'm delighted that you've mentioned this. So tell us, how do you personally set goals, Ellen? How do you set goals?
This year, what I've done with my goals is I have looked at the four different capitals because I want to achieve all round growth. And Austin, I'm happy to join. I know that there's no coincidence in us wanting to read the same book the same year, so I'm happy to join your club. Um, so what I've done with my goals this year is I've set goals to build on my physical capital. I have set goals to build on my spiritual capital, my financial capital, and my relational capital. I know that I have been having some gaps in all these capitals, and I want to build on those this year. So when it comes to relational, I feel like I have 2024 was a year that I set out to love myself more. So I spent a lot of time on my own. You saw me take a solo trip to to Zanzibar. So what I'm going to do this year is I want to give more time to other people, to friends, to family, not just my children, but I want to be more available to my nieces, my nephews, things like that. So in all these areas, the four areas, I want to do more. Besides reading my Bible, and that's a spiritual capital, I want to be more helpful in the community. I want to go out on evangelism. I want to do more that's besides personal growth, besides things I've done to love on myself more. So this year I'm setting out to do more in those four areas.
Alan Subi, this is amazing. The little that I know of you, and
Mm.
correct me if I'm wrong, the little that I know of you, the more that I celebrate of you, and every time I visit Uganda, you connect me with people. So when you say you want to do more, when you say you've been a lot solo than you should have been, I'm beginning to wonder now, how will you become at the end of the year? But I really can't wait, and I'm really delighted, Ellen, and I really must comment on the quality of friends that you have. They just I can't tell more. But as this is Wake Up
Thank
Africa,
you, Austin.
we are celebrating Africa. Tell me one thing, Ellen. Subi, before we move on to the next, why do you call your goals capital? You said you're working onto your physical capital, spiritual capital, relationship capital, and financial capital. Is it because you want to see the dividends out of the capital that you're investing in? Tell us more.
You're talking, Austin. We would not be calling them goals if we didn't expect some results at the end of the day. Yeah. So it is important that we even keep them smart. We know that these are going to be achievable. I'm going to have to do A, B, C, D, E to get where I want to be. So, there's got to be results at the end of this chain. Otherwise, what would the point be then? So for me, I call them capital because this is the initial investment. And now that I've told you some of them, I know that later on when we meet later in the year, we shall be discussing them and I'll be giving you an update on where I am with all of them because this is capital that I'm investing. I know that at the end of the day, I should be expecting results. I am going to work on getting results.
I had Alan Subi, thank you so much for that. And I'm taking that. You see, we learn every day. Friend of mine always says, why should you refuse to learn if the world ever teaches us? So thank you so much. I'm taking that and I'll start be calling my goals capital. I had earlier on a question from a lady called Gladys. She is joining us all the way from Zimbabwe. And she asked, is it okay to have one goal in a year or multiple goals in a year? What's your take on that?
I think one goal, it's strategic really. You can have one big goal with many objectives under it. But I think this day and age, and anyway, maybe it's also personal. I think I would be selling myself short by having one goal. I still feel like I have too much to achieve for me to focus on just one thing a year. It's 356 days. Um, I'm allowing myself to grow on more than one front. So it's not just one goal for me. But, I would understand if someone just decided to focus on one area of their lives, but then have more smaller objectives under that one big goal. So I think I hear her. It would be nice to hear an expounded version of what she had to say. But yeah, I think there is room for both avenues.
But allow me to understand, Alan Subi, all the way from Uganda. Why do you say that you've set only one goal and you mentioned at least four? And I'm interested on the financial goal, but we'll come back to that later on during the year. You've mentioned physical, spiritual, relational, and relationship and financial.
Financial. Mm.
Yeah, but then on your response now, you said you only have one goal. Is this goal you in these four areas, or these individual capitals are your goals for the year?
No, Austin, sorry, I'm actually speaking into what um the other speaker you said that she's only setting
Oh,
one
okay.
goal a year. So I'm saying that I feel I would be selling myself too short if I set one. But then I would also
Right.
understand where she's coming from with that. For me, I really want to achieve on all these four fronts, so it's more than one goal. But I would understand if someone had wanted to focus on just one and build on that the whole year. It's all right.
Excellent, Alan Subi. I'm coming towards the end, and I really am grateful for setting up the time. We shall be discussing again with you next week. But you want to tell us a little bit about Kampala. Um, every time I think of Uganda, I'm mesmerized by the party after party, the night economy. But this is not for it now. What's happening in Kampala recently?
Kampala, we've had a strong start to the year. This year, personally, I started the year at my balcony. I was watching the fireworks all around me from the balcony, and guess why? Uh, it's becoming less and less important for you to go to a hotel to watch fireworks because all around you at home there can be fireworks. That's how excited we were to enter the new year. There are more places offering the fireworks. There are more people excited to join the new year. New Year's Eve is meaning so much more to more people than it used to. So we've started the year strong. I know organizations that didn't even break off for Christmas. There are others that have started on the third while I'm resuming work on the 6th. There are others that are starting on the 3rd. It's election year in Uganda, so
Oh,
things are happening very, very quickly. The president was in Kisumu earlier this week. We saw him dance with your leaders. I don't know why you
yes.
do that to our old man.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we are starting strong. With election year comes some challenges on the business front. I think that's why businesses, some decided not to close, others are putting in the work this first quarter so that in case anything slows us down later on, we know that we started the year strong. Yeah.
And when do you expect to do the elections? We have elections this year in Tanzania as well, up in November, October, November, towards the end of the year. Is it about the same time in Uganda?
I think so, but as will be early. I think ours third quarter of the year.
Oh, excellent. Just before I
Yeah.
allow you to proceed, and again, I'm very appreciative of your time. I had Emma who asked a question all the way from South Africa that why does it matter when you set a goal at the beginning of the year and not later on? Maybe she mentioned 22nd of February. Why does it matter?
I'll tell you this. The way I've told you we are excited to be joining the new year, it's not just a new year, it represents a beginning of a new season. So when a new season is beginning, then you set goals that align with the new season. You evaluate what you set for the last season, how you're doing, and then you then set up goals for that are going to see you through the new season. So it's a good question. Why do we set these goals on 31st December? Why not 22nd Feb? But you see, unless 22nd Feb is your birthday and you're saying, I'm starting a new year, so let me do this for my birthday, it makes less sense for you to be, starting that late. People have started first Jan. Why are you starting in Feb, late Feb? So because we are entering a new season, then it feels right for us to be aligning ourselves with the new season and what it has to offer. Yeah, that's why goals are important to be set beginning of year or end of the old year. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I can't agree with you more. Thank you so much, Alan Subi, for your time. I want you to wish Africa, the entire African continent is watching, a happy new year and give us your parting remark.
Um, Africa, um, this new season is giving us a new opportunity to rewrite our story. There's been so many jokes about how the media is portraying us, international media, and I feel like 2025 we can make a difference. But how do we do that? By adding to the voices that are already existing. Austin, I applaud you so much. I'm so glad you're my friend because you're doing such a great thing, giving African voices a platform to be heard. So let's contribute. Let's play a part in changing the African story. We start here. It starts with us. So let's all of us on our different platforms. Let's change this story. And I wish you all the best, Africa, for 2025. We are here. We're going to be holding you accountable to your goals.
And Happy New Year to you too, Alan. See you next Saturday. And thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you so much. This is Wake Up Africa. We just had Alan Stubi broadcasting live from Kampala, Uganda, joining us on Wake Up Africa and the first episode, setting up the essence of setting up goals. And she reminded me of a very important aspect when you set up goals. And in order for you to make sure that you follow through your goals very well, then have an accountability partner. Accountability partner is not a police. It's like a bodyguard to remind you and tell you you're on track, you're off track, go back, etc., etc. So really, thank you, Alan, for sharing so much insight. It's an election year in Uganda. It's also an election year here in Tanzania. We wish nothing but the very best onto our countries. But again, being an election year across our countries, it's important that we also go out there and choose the best leaders we can have. I know most of us shy away saying, "Oh, we can't go on to election because they're kind of, filtered. They already know who the winners are, etc., etc." But I know of a person who once said that if you do not vote, you're actually voting for that wrong candidate that you do not want into the office. So every vote counts. This is Wake Up Africa, and we will be back. Stay tuned. And welcome back. This is Wake Up Africa, first episode where we're looking onto the essence of setting goals. My dear viewer, allow me once again at this juncture to really thank the man and woman behind this podcast who are making it possible and almost seamless. These are none other but Essa and Noreen. Really thank you for the great work, guys. And Africa. Again, Alan spoke about it as well, appreciating that we are actually walking the talk. We are doing it. While many people end up saying, let's do this, let's do this, let's change the narrative, we are actually doing this. And really, once again, to thank Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania for making time onto the first show to come in and share their insights. They will be joining us shortly, waiting on Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania, who will be joining. And as I mentioned, regrets earlier on for Kenya that she had to come in and take the little one to the hospital, but she is following onto the discussion. Thank you so much. She'll be joining us onto the next episode. I want to really bring it quickly onto as we're looking onto goal setting, why it is important to improve on yourself. But again, as we set goal, the essence, the significance of setting goals. Giving an example of two boats. Okay, so we have two boats on the shore. One has the captain and the crew and the voyage map, knowing where it wants to go, where it would stop to refill, get essentials, onto which journey, how long will the journey take, etc., etc. And one bot on the other side is, you know, you just put the engine on and you let it go. There's no crew, there's no map, there's no assistance, there's no any plan whatsoever. So setting goal is more likely the bot that is by the shore, and now, when you exactly know where you want to go, you remember I spoke about the six things in the morning, gives you the clarity. Where do I want to go? You're able to ascertain what you need for that journey. You're able to have and make a definitive plan for your journey, but you're also able to prepare for the journey. This is what I require for this journey. But you're also able to calculate, to take calculated risk. For instance, on a cruise, on a ship, you know that if I go this route, maybe there's the wall there, or maybe there are heavy currents there. I need to slow down. So you're able, when you know, to now take the calculated risk, but again, to prepare for unforeseen circumstances so that you're able to reach your goal. But yet again, I must emphasize going towards your goal is not an easy task. This you must remember. It is not an easy task. However, there's those of us who set very simple goals, like I will go on a walk or I will walk for 1 kilometer. Well, you can do 5 kilometers, or I will make breakfast in the morning, etc. So set goals that really, I did say this earlier on as well, that would really, really, really stretch you so that you're able now slowly and gradually to grow. As I did say, what my mentor also said, it's not about what comes out at the end of the goal, but the person you become in pursuit of your goal. Now, improving yourself, and I have my brother Elliot in Burundi who will be joining us shortly. But improving yourself remains of a great significance. Okay. And people might think, oh, I do not have what it takes to improve yourself. It doesn't really. We have libraries. Oh, but I'm not a reader. I can't read. Yes. Who do you spend most of your time with? I normally tend to ask people, especially those who are dear to me, like you have your mobile phone and you have data because 24/7 you're active on WhatsApp. That means the same amount of time, and I read this also, I think it's my mentor who told me that if we spend about an hour on YouTube learning, you are equally the same as the person who spent 3 years acquiring a university degree. Let me repeat that. This is by a study. There's a study that has been done that if you spend 1 hour on YouTube, on internet, learning content, you are equally the same as the person who has spent 3 years acquiring a university degree. Now, most of us either drive to work or commute to work anyhow, either by personal vehicles or by public transport. Okay? You have your phone on your pocket or in your handbag. You probably have your earpieces, or you could purchase them cheap earpieces. Okay? When you go to your office, there's a free Wi-Fi. Okay? Use that free Wi-Fi to download materials so that when you go back home or when you go to work the next morning, you are able to play so that you do not deplete your bundle, you do not deplete your airtime. So, how often do you go onto social media? And what content do you feed your brain? Remember, body, mind, and soul. How often do you feed your brain with reliable, great, tangible, researched material that is out there? You probably might say, how do I even search for this content? So it begins with your broader objective. I want to make so much amount of money this year. Start there. Now download video that say how to save, how to make so much amount of money. How do I save so much amount of money? How do I increase wealth from the little that I have? And there will be hundreds of thousands of materials that will give you ways on how to do that for free. I repeat, gratis for free. Do that, and you will then be making the better person that you want to make for the year. We are looking onto setting goals, the essence of setting goals, as the first episode for the year. As I did say, I'm grateful to Kenya, Uganda. We've just spoken with Alan Subi, broadcasting from Kampala, Uganda. Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania will be joining us and telling us what it is that it is they think, in their own opinion, is the significance of setting goals. But for now, stay tuned. This is Wake Up Africa. Africa, let us change the narrative. Let the world know that there is life. Let the world know there is wealth in Africa, because there is. Stay tuned. This is Wake Up Africa broadcasting live from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and I'm talking to the entire African continent. My dear viewer, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for those who have been with me since 6 when we started, all the way up to 9 a.m. Thanks for those who shared their valuable contribution, questions, comments, um, liking the program. Spread the word so that the entire Africa is part and parcel of changing the Africa's narrative. When I had Alan Subi from Kampala, Uganda, she did say that the capital, the gold capital, need to be smart. I want to little bit mention or speak about what it means to literally have a smart goal or smart capital. As we all have abbreviated the word smart onto specific. So your goal or your capital needs to be specific. I want to do this and let it be that specific. I want to do that. Let as I said, and I'm happy that I began this podcast today with Dan Rom, the author of The Back of the Napkin. Whoever best describes the problem is most likely to solve it. So your objective, your goal, your capital has to be super specific, super um, smart. So it gives you that clarity. Um, that is the S in the word smart. And M in the word smart is measurable. We also borrowed from Alan Subi. She said they have a WhatsApp group, a family WhatsApp group where they ask each other to all share what they plan to do for the year. Measurable now means this is what you plan to attain over the first quarter. That means you're able to say, I've been able to lose certain amount of kilograms off my weight. Okay. So your goal, your capital, your objective should be measurable. S is specific, M is measurable. When you say I want to have 1 billion at the end of the year in my account, those are 12 months. You divide 1 billion over 12. Whatever amount that you have is what you have on monthly basis or 12 months is what you need to say this month I've been able to deposit a certain amount of money that after 12 months it's going to add up to 1 billion measurable. A, specific. S, M, measurable. A is attainable. You should set goals that you know you can attain, okay? That you know you can achieve. Don't set rocket science goals that would take you a longer time to achieve. The goals must stretch you, but they must be attainable, okay? I want to do a PhD in a year. While we all know the minimum number of years it is generally accepted to acquire your PhD is 3 or 4 or 5. How do you want to attain that goal within a year? So your goal has to be attainable in the sense that it is realistic, which is what I'm coming to next in the R, but it is specific, it is measurable, it is attainable. You have to be able to attain in what I'm taking on to next has to be realistic. SMART. S, specific. M, measurable. A, attainable. R, realistic. Your goal has to be realistic. You have to be able to put real goals. You know, I want to buy a chopper. You can't afford a bicycle. Yes, you can buy a chopper in a given time. Okay. First, start by saving that amount of money or doing what will earn you the money to be able to buy that chopper. So that could be a goal. Yes, it is achievable. Yes, but given your current status, resources, time, skills, and ability, can you do that? So it has to be realistic. That is the R. S, specific. M, measurable, A, attainable, R, realistic. We go to T, smart. T is time bound. You have to say, I want to do this by this date. Okay? This is where you differentiate between a goal and a mere wish. I want to be, I want to have 1 billion by December 2020, by 31st December 2025. It's different from I want to have 1 billion in my account. Okay? The first one that is time bound will really stretch you, will really make you constantly on your toes looking for that money to make. But when you say I want to have 1 billion, you know, when do you want to have it? It could be next year. You know, one of the questions that I like to ask my kids as a teacher, and I've seen them, they've also picked it to ask their friend, what is there? You know, it is always coming but never arrives tomorrow. Okay? So when do you want to do what you want? Smart goal, smart capital, smart objective has to be time bound. You've got to be able to say, by June 30th, I want to have lost 2 pounds or 5 kilograms from my weight. That objective then becomes smarter. It keeps your brain running. It keeps your body and your mind and your soul in congruence with what you want to achieve. However, I want to add two more words from the word smart. Okay? That's your goal, your capital, your objective has to be smarter. So, what is the E and what is the R? The E is you have to be able to evaluate. Evaluation is different from measurable. Measurable is when you say, how much have I achieved by this time? You are able to measure. You've set certain targets. You see, we spoke about broader goal and then smaller goals that take you towards that. But E for evaluatable, you want to evaluate, you want to look back and say, it's been half a year. How far am I from attaining my goal? Okay, it's been 1 month. How far am I from attaining my monthly goals, my annual goals in this 1 month? So that is the E. And the final R is replicable, replicability of your goal. So it should not just be able to be done this year. You should be able to do it next year. You should be able to do it next month. You should be able to do it next week. You should be able to replicate it. You should be able to, someone else should be able to learn from what you have attained. And that is smarter goal, smarter objective. As Alan says, smarter capital. Elliot from Burundi will be joining us shortly, and we'll take it from there. This is Wake Up Africa, broadcasting live from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. 6 o'clock in the morning we started. We are going to close at 9. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and this is Wake Up Africa. We are coming on to the very final mile of the program, and I have comments from the social media. To begin with, Valentine, all the way from Mombasa. Valentine, good morning and Happy New Year, and thank you for sharing. Valentine is asking for more time for the program. Valentine, thank you so much for the comment. We will certainly see how best we can increase time. But thank you so much for following up on the program. Then I have Mariogo from Burundi. Mariogo's comment is great content. Thank you, Mariogo, all the way from Burundi for following up. We have Kim Masisi from Nairobi. Karibu Kenya, Akuna Matata. Thank you, Kim Masisi, all the way from Nairobi, for watching Wake Up Africa and for joining. And we hope you will tell us in the future how we can benefit. There was a question earlier on how we can leverage on the economic potential that the countries have. What is it that we can benefit or can come in as an opportunity all the way from Kenya? Then we have Ramuni. I believe I pronounced the name very well, from Morocco. Wake Up Africa is the true face of Africa. Let us change our narrative. Thank you so much, Ramuni from Morocco. Then I have Kebede from Ethiopia. God bless this platform and your vision to change our narrative. Thank you, Kebede, and to your blessing, we say amen to that. We receive these blessings, and yes, you and me together will change the narrative. Then I have Abimbadi from Nigeria. It is time for Africa, and I totally agree with you. Yes, it is time for Africa, and let's change our narrative. Then I have Dr. Ayete Labi, all the way from Ghana. Great to learn what is happening in Africa at a glance. Thank you so much, Dr. Ayebe, for joining. And please share what is happening in Ghana. We'll be really, really honored to know what's happening in Ghana, because Wake Up Africa is for Africa by Africans. And my dear viewers, I have Jean Pierre joining all the way from Rwanda. Jean, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Austin.
How are you? How is Rwanda?
Everything is going well. I'm doing well, thank you. How is life there at Dar?
Dar es Salaam is beautiful. It's shiny and a bit of sunshine. We've been having quite a number of shower days, so we've been counting our blessings. I love rains, man.
Where I
And
stay
and
here, it's a very rainy season, and it's a very rainy region, so it rains mostly all year round. But we have been also having some sunshines this past week, so we are also lucky to have that here.
that's very good to learn. You know, I will be in Rwanda in 2 weeks, and I'm happy that I will take this program with you, the entire morning with you. I hope you will
That's
agree to
wonderful. Yeah,
come to my hotel and we do this program together. Tell
I
us,
look
tell
forward
us,
to that.
tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us, why do you think it's important to have annual goals? This being the first show of the year and the first show ever in history, bringing African minds together to change Africa's narratives. So tell us a bit about yourself and tell us, why is it important to change, up to set goals for the year.
Right. Thank you so much, Austin. So my name is Jean Remy, and I work in hospitality and tourism management, and I'm working closely with finance nowadays. And what I've realized so far is that in workspace, planning and setting goals is a very crucial part of what we do, and it's a very crucial part of the business as well, because if you do planning and if you set goals for the year, it sets the momentum of what you are going to do throughout the year. And it also works as a guideline for where you are heading, and it also works as like a reminder if you are trying to go in a different way. So having that said, it means that if you don't have goals as a business, what are you doing? even if you have money, even if you have capital, even if you have clients, if you don't have what you aim to gain in the business, you are going to end up somewhere else, not where you wanted. So also as a person, if you have set personal goals, it also allows you to create something. If you don't have goals, your life is not going anywhere. And always, if you have goals, it gives you motivations, it gives you direction, it gives you motivation. Everything comes with goals. And I believe that whenever you set a goal, it's one step ahead of many people who haven't set anything, who haven't planned about anything. Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely, and I can't agree more. I read recently one of the books that says those who set goals and those who do not set goals, there's a very minor difference. However, when you set your goal and you pursue them, those plans that you've mentioned right now is now that makes you stand out at an edge above the rest. Now you become the person who sets and goes towards the goals than those who just set goals or have visions and plans but don't go for them. Do you want to share with us one or two goals that you have set for yourself for the year?
Thank you so much, Austin. I have set my personal goals in like 3 sets. I try to narrow them into 3 major categories. First one is I want to improve my physical health. So I'm going to improve working out, improve having sleep hours, everything, that comes with life, because I have saw that one of the greatest assets that we have is our health, our physical health. And if you don't take care of it right now, it will not take care of us in the future, in the coming years. And second, I'm also going to work on my spiritual health, getting well in my relationship with God, getting well in my relationship with others as well, and also building meaningful relationships. And the third one is focusing on my financial literacy, like creating awareness of how I track my finances and how I can improve it. And if possible, I will attend a few classes, a few sessions, a few online courses to help me go around really about what can I improve in my finances, actually. That's it from me this year.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like it's a full year already, but I wish you all the very best. Why, in the three objectives and the three capital, Alan Subi from Uganda shared earlier that she calls our objectives or our goals capital because there's something that you want to get back from them. Allow me to pick on your spiritual health. You said you want to improve your relationship with God and others. Why do you think this is critical? Why do you think this is important?
Thank you so much. There is a term that we use in hospitality called wholeness. Wholeness means it's you, what you do, and what surrounds you, like everything. And what I believe is whenever your relationship with God and whenever your relationship with others that is not going well, it creates a sort of bad energy or something that doesn't align with the universe, that doesn't align with what you are aiming to do, and that doesn't support your goals. For instance, if you have bad relationships in real life and you are not feeling supported, you are not feeling welcomed wherever you go, even what you do doesn't matter, because what matters the most is uh, our surroundings, how we feel. It's always how we feel. So I think if your relationship with God is awesome, the God helps you, guides you, and gives you directions and can create in many ways what you want. So that's why I want to focus on that. Thank you.
Absolutely, Elliot. I've got two more, Remy, I've got two more questions to you before I allow you to proceed. It's Saturday morning, and pretty early, your end. We are now ahead of you, so I know it's 7:40 your end. My first question before I end is, what is happening in Rwanda at the moment? I want you to share with Africa, the entire Africa that's watching right now, as to what is happening there. Uh, how did the year transition from 24 to 25? Any plans that the country has for the year?
Thank you so much. I'll be quoting from our president at the finish of the year. He hosted an NDR party, and one of the things that I picked up from him is that 2024 was a very good year, and it was a very busy year. We had many things to do. We have done a lot of things. We have had many success. We have had setbacks like Marburg and others, but all in all, we ended it in one piece. And this coming year should be twice or triple of what we did. So we started there with a lot of excitement. So as part of the government plan, they are working on improving many infrastructures. Our airport is almost at the end. We have construction of roads everywhere around, both in countrywide and in the city. Like you can see, there is a lot of work going on, and there is a lot of partnership going on, especially in my industry, hospitality, but also in others, finance, everywhere, healthcare. So I think we are heading in a good direction as a country, and also as a citizen. I can see that this year is going to be very well, and I'll keep sharing what is happening. If something pops up, I will tell you, and I will invite you to come and join us to help build Africa in general and build a bright future.
You certainly know that you can count on me at any time. And this is now me giving you 1 minute of fame to tell us about what you do. There's someone out there, Remy, that wants to benefit and pay you for the service you do. So tell us, you just mentioned hospitality. Are you in a hotel? Are you organizing tours? So that at least we know when we come to Rwanda, we either stay at your hotel or we book you for, hospitality is broad. I said I'll be in Rwanda in 2 weeks. So tell us.
All right. You called me on spot. So, as I mentioned, I work in hospitality, but I work as a lodge admin, which means I work closely with finance items, invoices, things like that. But on a personal side, I'm pursuing also building a grocery store online. I haven't launched it yet. I have started already doing the business. I do deliveries for hotels, small businesses, and homes, but I want to improve it and make it fully online because that's where the world is heading, and that's where you can reach many people. So if maybe I can get someone who have already started something like that, I can get insight. That will be wonderful. If I can get a developer who can help me to build both an app and a website also, that will work for me as well. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward for.
Be rest assured, Remy, there's one person amongst many who is following up keenly on this program. And I really wish to commend and really thank her. She's been one of my best mentors. And she's going to be my partner this year in one of the projects we're going to do today together this year. She is watching, she's heard you, and I'm certain that she will reach out to you. A fantastic brain that we have in Tanzania. And I'm sure she has businesses there and she will be very happy to support you. Her name is Doris. I know she's watching and she will certainly reach out. Tell us your parting remarks. What is your message to Africa, Rennie?
Thank you so much. My message is very simple. Whatever you put out there, it will get back in return. And once you think about something, do it. And also acting on something you create. That's my message.
Thank you so much, Rennie, all the way from Rwanda, for your time and for talking to Africa. We truly appreciate. And I can see my brother Elliot is already online, ready to take over from you. But thank you so much, Rennie, and all the very best. See you next Saturday, same time, same place. Wake Up Africa. This is the place to be where African minds meet to change Africa's narrative. Elliot from Burundi, are you still online?
Yes, I am. Wake up, Africa. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to join you today. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday and Happy New Year. And thank you so much for you to have been able to make time to join and speak to Africa, Randy. Elliot, how are you? How's Burundi?
Thank you. Burundi, well, today is sunny. And my name is Elliot Njejimana. I'm a lawyer and I'm based in Burundi. I work in a law firm, leading law firm, African Law Chambers. And I'm glad to be part of this session because I'm
Sorry, we had to miss Elliot. I believe he will be joining us probably before we end the show today. But thank you, Elliot, for coming in. And I believe there was a question earlier on how can we help young people. I think Africa is really bugged by technology, and we really need to improve on technology. Young people, there's an opportunity. We want to have Burundi participate. We want to have many other African countries participate. Anyone with a better solution, bring it on, and we will certainly take it. Aminata.
Yes, Austin, good morning, everyone, and wake up, Africa.
Thank you so much, Aminata, for joining, and Happy New Year. It's good to see you at the beginning of the year.
Happy to see you too, Austin. It's indeed a happy new year, and I am super excited for what's about to happen.
Aha! Tell us what is about to happen, Aminata. What we are looking on to, this is the first episode of Wake Up Africa, and we're looking onto the goal setting, the essence of goal setting. Is it of any significance? Is it of any importance? What's your take?
Thank you, Austin. Goal setting is indeed important. You see, we live in a community of people and we interact with people every day. Now, how do you allow the other person to meaningfully interact with you if they do not know what your focus is? For me, goal setting is the roadmap towards becoming you, towards being more mindful, towards being more consistent. Because for me this year, my biggest goal is I want to be more consistent. I want to be 50% more mindful. So how am I going to do that if I do not know where I want to go? My younger brother always tells me the easiest way to get to where you want to go is to have a picture of exactly how you want your destination to look like, then go back analyzing where you are, what you need to put in, people you need to collaborate with, and all that. So yes, goal setting is really important.
Excellent. And thank you for having highlighted from your response very pertinent issues, roadmap to being mindful. Okay, you just don't go, it's just oblivious of, taking things just as they are because they are there. This is now expecting different results but doing the same things. But again, I really like the way you said that you want to be 50% more mindful this year. 50% more mindful. And just before you joined Aminata, I was talking about smarter capital, smarter goals, smart objective, whereby you've got to really put a measurement. And you've really said it very well that you want to be 50% more mindful. So from where you come from, where you are, and where you want to be. So how are you envisaging achieving your goals, Aminata? There are people out there who set goals but do not know how to achieve them. So how do you plan to achieve your personal goals?
Austin, achieving goals is not an overnight scenario. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes people. So what I am particularly doing is living a day at a time. As I said, I want to be 50% more mindful. So my focus is on today. Maximize on today. Do the most that I can do today. And then when the night comes, I rest knowing that I did my part. The universe is full of opportunities. There are people who come to us without even knowing how they showed up in front of us, and collaborations happen, but things can't happen if you do not maximize your daily potential. So for me, it's living the moment, giving it my best shot every day. Over to you,
Whoa,
Austin.
yeah, I mean, I was still mesmerized at how big that is. And this is Wake Up Africa, and Wake Up Africa really wants to show that really Africa can unleash its potential. You've just, given us a bit of a narrative of what we're going to discuss next week because we are really going big. But I really am very happy again when you said you're living a day at a time. Living a day at a time is again in complementing what you want to achieve, being 50% more mindful. Because when you live a day at a time, that means you're keeping track of what you do on daily basis towards that big goal that you have. But you again spoke of time, you spoke about efforts, you spoke of people. I mean, did I get that right? It takes effort, it takes people.
Exactly.
Time and effort. Can you explain a little bit about the people aspect in the goal setting?
I will speak with respect to my goals and things I aspire to do or get done within this year. Most of them will be successful when I do it on my own, but it's going to be more successful and impact more people if I collaborate with the right people. So I have my own community. The other person also has their own community. There's only so much I can do as a person. There are things I can do and there are things I cannot do, but there are things that Austin can do better that I cannot do. Now, if we bring that together, see the potential of the results. It's okay and it's very good to do things on your own, and there are walks that can only be walked on your own, but it's also very, very, very important to collaborate, but with the right people, people that have the same vision as you, people that want to see the same results as you. It may not be the exact same results that you want, but your goals align in one way or the other. Your goals complement each other. Over to you, Austin.
Thank you so much, Aminata. It's totally very important. Earlier on, before you joined as well, I'm sure you were watching. I spoke about how it is important that your body, your mind, and your soul are in congruent with the goals that you have in life, and how you as a person, your personal goals, your career goals, or what you do, where you do, as well as the society, the people that look up to you, Aminata, uh, their goals. For me, just looking at you, or the person that has an influence on you has an impact on how you set your goals. We are coming towards the really end of Wake Up Africa, the first episode. But I would really now once again wish to pick from your brain, Aminata, all the way from Arusha, Tanzania. Tell us what's happening. What is there in Tanzania? What is there in Arusha? We've seen beautiful pictures of a lot of things happening as you're transitioning from 2024 to 2025. Kudos to that. I know it's your vibrant regional commissioner. But other than that, are there any opportunities? Are there any big meetings? What's happening generally in Arusha or in Tanzania for Africa to know?
Thank you, Austin. Arusha is indeed a vibrant city that you cannot afford not visiting in 2025. As you said, we have a very vibrant regional commissioner who's always up on point, trying to come up with different activities, different things that people can engage in. And the exciting part is the collaborations between the EAC member states. As you know, Arusha hosts the headquarters for the East Africa community, yeah? And there's quite a series of activities in plan to basically just bring together people to promote that interaction, to emphasize on that regional integration. So there's social events coming up, there's business events coming up. There's also one that I'm putting up with the Consulate of Uganda, where we are putting up an event where people would just come in and experience that Ugandan vibe, the music, the food, the culture, everything about Uganda, and feel like they're also part of the Ugandan community.
Every time the word Uganda pops out, I smile because, their night economy is just party after party after party. There's a club that is up at 2 in the afternoon. Can you imagine? That's only in Uganda. I've not seen anywhere else in Uganda. I mean, that's how
And
we've come.
if you didn't
Yes.
know, Ugandans are the most energetic people in this world. I don't know where they get their energy from, but those people, party with them at your own risk.
I'm sure Kenya and Nigeria would have debated that, but let's leave that for another Wake Up Africa session where we have Kenya and Nigeria on show. But for me, really, is to thank you. But before you go, what is your parting remark? What do you want Africa to know?
One simple thing I would say is be you. There's only one you in this world. There's only one person. There's only one soul like you in this world. So be the best that you can be. Don't be scared of saying no if you can't do it. It saves time for both people. So just be you and choose you. Fill your cup this year so that you're able to fill other cups around you. Over to you, Austin.
Thank you so much, Aminata. You have a wonderful time. We'll see you next Saturday. And do you know what we're discussing on next Saturday?
Please tell me.
Next Saturday, I want us to talk about the mindset of abundance. Africa is crowded with, allow me, short of research, but we have a lot of people think of me, 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 in a country, in a continent that is full of everything, abundance. How do we instill the mindset of abundance in Africa so that we live knowing the more I share, the more we share, the more we grow as a continent. I can't wait to hear what your take will be on this. But Aminata, thank you very much. Thank you for availing your time this morning and see you next Saturday.
See you.
And this is to Alan, Toby, Remy, Elliot. Sorry that we could not speak for long. Aminata and um, from Kenya. I hope the little one is doing on so well. But really is to thank you, Patricia from Kenya, who could not join us, but she will join us on the second episode. I would also like to really thank all those who shared comments, questions online. But in a very special way, would like to thank you, Etsa and Maureen behind the scene, for making the first episode of Wake Up Africa Live a reality. And to you, all my viewers on YouTube, thank you very much. Let's meet again on Saturday, same time from 6 in the morning all up to 9 a.m. And we'll have more countries joining to share their insight on the mindset of abundance. Is this it, Africa? Can I be with you so that I can become rich? Or is it that there is enough for everyone so that we are able to all grow as a continent? Up until next Saturday, I'm your host, Austin Makani, live from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Thank you all for watching. Let's meet next week on Saturday on Wake Up Africa, 6 in the morning up until 9 a.m. Kudos and bye-bye.